the way I would describe it is, imagine if you went like this on the back of your hand with a pencil. That's how much pressure I'm using. You know, not much pressure at all. And I'm letting the pencil grades do the work. Okay. Now, all I'm going to do, and this is how you create these even tones, and this is also how you create these values. You notice that, you know, you're starting, and Amelia, you're starting to get the values, but it's tough to get a value that dark in graphite. Okay, but watch. All I'm going to do to this is I've got a 5H pencil here. This is one of the lightest pencils. And all I'm going to do is fill in some of these little white dots and eliminate them. And I'm only going to do it in a section so you can see the difference. But watch what a distinct difference in value it creates in that swatch. Okay, so I'm going to go in. Now, I'm going to try and talk as I do this. So I'm still kind of doing little tiny circles. I'm holding the pencil very vertically so I can get down into the grain of the paper. I wouldn't always do it this way, but for what I'm doing as far as this task, I need to do it. I'm going to try and talk as I do this. And what I want to talk to you guys about is, so rendering in graphite is this tedious. Why do I have you rendering in graphite? There's two reasons. I used to jokingly tell people I'm teaching you how to render in graphite so you never want to render in graphite ever again. Because in most cases graphite isn't that great a medium. There are other mediums that are better. Once you learn how to work, you'll realize that vine charcoal is wonderful and so is gouache for doing this stuff. I know you guys maybe don't like gouache right this second. Because you're in Cameron's class, but we'll talk about that later today too. Why you're using gouache. But so what's the other reason for having you guys work in graphite? The other reason for having you guys work in graphite is this: you're learning how to do something that requires making a lot of very controlled and intelligent judgments about your situation. You know, is this dark enough? Is this not dark enough? You know, do I need to change this edge? Do I need to soften this edge? Do I need to stiffen this edge? Those kinds of questions. And what I've realized I like about graphite as far as teaching people how to use it is it's kind of like giving someone a high-performance sports car, but only letting them drive, you know, putting some kind of governor on it so it can only drive 2 miles an hour. Because the nice thing about this is you can't do these projects quickly. But that also means you can't screw them up quickly either. You know, so if you're working on it, you're driving that car and you start going off the road, you know, you're going, tree. You know, I mean, so you're, you know, it's happening that slowly, so you have plenty of time to go, oh, wait. And it's like driving, you know, one of those, a lawnmower or something, you know. I mean, as compared to a Ferrari. With gouache, you hit the accelerator, oh, you screwed up. Fuck. You know, it's instantaneous. And that's what makes it a great medium, but it also makes it brutal for a beginner. Because it feels like you look at the gouache and you screw it up. You know. Now, what I want you guys to see is, so look at the top part of that swatch and look at the bottom. Do you see how much darker that one patch is? Because I eliminated the white. And so that's one thing you're going to want to do. And you do that in the early stages. And here's the thing, the early stages take a long time. But as you go farther, you're using less and less of the grade so you can go a lot faster. And if you've done the first layers correctly, the remaining layers near the end get really quick, because then you can almost scribble because you're just making adjustments, you know. But in the beginning, you have to be really laborious about it. Okay. Does that answer any questions? Or, yeah.
If we make it too dark, what kind of eraser or should we?
It's hard to do, but it's hard to make it too dark quickly, like I was saying. what I would do is if you make it too dark, the best thing you can probably do is take a kneaded eraser and don't rub it, but just go like this. Just go press it on like silly putty and then pull it off and see if that helps. And then press it on. And you're going to have to go in and make adjustments, but better that you, it's a better idea to, in graphite, if you're doing it really carefully like this, to try to sneak up on it. Sneak up on the value you need and try not to go too dark. Okay?
If you're putting like one of the really darker values on top of the lighter one, what do you do about the fact that it doesn't quite stick? Like, 'cause,
It gets a little slick.
Yeah.
You mean? Some of that can be avoided by not, you might lighten your pressure. Because one of the things that happens when people render in graphite, and the reason I was cautioning them about too much pressure, is when you put too much pressure, you start crushing the paper a little bit. And it's not going to be as much of a problem on these as it would be on some papers. But but if you crush the texture too much, it becomes flattened, and that's when you get the really, that's when it starts skidding a lot, you know. So if you start with the really high values and you kind of just, you know, you sneak up on it, like I said, you'll get effects more like this, where you won't get into that skidding kind of quality so much. It's a little more gentle. So try that, see if that works. Okay, that would be my suggestion. Now, as I was saying, do you guys sort of see what you're doing wrong and what I want you to do from here? Okay. Any questions at all?
a little goes a long way.
I don't know that I'd put it exactly that way, but I'm trying to think of a better way to say it. When you say a little, what do you mean by a little?
Like, start small.
I would say be gentle. That's what I would say. Be gentle. Allow more time than you think you're going to need. Start early and work very slowly and patiently. Patience is probably the biggest thing. If you're very patient about developing it and you don't rush the early stages, that actually you'll get good craft. Byron was talking to the morning. I asked the TAs if they had any suggestions based on their experience, and Byron's comment to the class was, when you think you're going slow enough, you're probably not going slow enough yet. You know, and just about being that patient about it, because that's how you get the effect. Yeah.
Roughly how long would you say, just an average, if you were going to really take your time and feel yourself out,
Okay.
feel the groove, and then go?
Okay, I'm going to tell you guys what I think it would take a professional, and then what I think it would take you guys, because it's different amounts. Because, you know, when you know where you're going, it's faster. Okay? If I were sitting down to do a grayscale like this, I would expect it to take probably at least 3 to 4 hours probably. And for a student, it might take 5, you know, assuming they're doing it well and they're making good guesses. For a rendering like this, when you get into this rendering next week, for a rendering like this, it would probably take 4 to 5 hours for a pro, and maybe 8 to 10 for a student. But the student, this is a different thing, because this is requiring the student to make educated guesses about imagined light sources and stuff, and that gets a lot uglier, and it's a lot more thought-provoking, and you know, it's less likely you're going to make good choices. Yeah.
Would you recommend using your fingers? I heard
No.
that. Yeah, you shouldn't.
Yeah,
Okay.
do not use your fingers. Don't use anything to smear it, because actually all that does is create like these, you get skidding-like effects, and you get, you lose control essentially, you know, of the process. So, I would not do that. I'm trying to think if there's anything else I need to tell you about. You know, one thing